Thank you.
So let's go to the stock exchange where our other studio there, our annex, where we have a guest waiting for us, Mr. Femi Akintunde, who is the Chief Executive of Mead Facilities, or Mead Group specifically. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, sir.
Thank you very much, Temple.
Right. I should say first, congratulations on your recognition by the London Stock Exchange. What does that tell us about facilities management in Nigeria? You are one of the few over 300 companies recognized across Africa.
Yeah, thank you very much, Temple. Actually, there were 360 companies for Africa, and about 1,000 in Europe. For Africa, out of the 360, I must say that 97 actually came from Nigeria, which has a lot of implications for us. First, for Mead, it's both a challenge and a motivation. A motivation in the sense that we're happy that what we're doing is being recognized as a global best practice and is really impacting the community where we're operating from. It's a challenge in the sense that once we begin to be highlighted as a key player at that level, it calls for more dedication and more commitment to global best practice standards. For Nigeria, it also means that despite all the challenges that we have, we could identify 97 good companies that are emerging because the benchmark was for companies that are operating below $1 billion revenue, and it means we're not really talking of the big players like the Dangotes of this world who are already there anyway. So these are emerging companies that London Stock Exchange has identified, and for Nigeria it also means that we actually have we can see some silver lining in the cloud, that things are not that bad and we can showcase the best of our own to the international market. For international investors, what this also means, because we've started receiving a lot of inquiries, both from within Africa and outside Africa, where people naturally and generally believe that Africa is a black box. You don't understand anything about how things work there. Part of the requirements for this selection is actually the transparency of your corporate governance structure and also the accounting standards that you comply with. We are IFRS compliant, and one of the global four, EY, audits our account. So that was quite revealing to them that companies at our level could actually be operating at that kind of standard and hold ourselves responsible. So international investors are beginning to see that there is actually opportunity to invest in good companies in Nigeria. And for the capital market, we feel we should also be able to celebrate our own and take a cue from this development to actually identify those emerging businesses that could be said to be global SMEs, because that's what I would call them, and support us, because it's really, really tough doing business in this kind of environment. And I mean, to achieve the same level of results, you need to put in almost 10 times the same effort compared to other climes where things are a bit more standard and supportive. So we're looking forward to seeing more of Nigerian investors pay more attention, the capital market pay more attention to this group of companies and support them to also boost the capital market opportunities in Nigeria.
Okay, so hopefully this will at least bring in more of foreign direct investments and of course some kind of FPIs to some companies here. Again, for those that are looking for some private capital financing, then this provides an opportunity for some of those recognized companies. Thank you for your thoughts being shared there, sir. So let's look at the fact that infrastructure remains critical to Nigeria. Of course, we know that the federal government, President Muhammadu Buhari specifically, has now signed the Executive Order 007 into law, and that is expected to help complete some of the major roads across the Federation. And we also know that there was an Executive Order 005, and that was to help a lot of the local players, engineers like you, to now participate more in roads or construction works in Nigeria. Let us square this up. Executive Order 005 an Executive Order 007. What does this bring to the mind of current, that's members of current engineers like you in your field?
Let's start first of all from the base. It's projected that the global economy will experience about $20 trillion investment into infrastructure development this year. That accounts for about 25% of global GDP. From what we've seen of 2019 budget, Nigeria is planning to spend about 6.8 billion, which is equivalent to 1.66%. You will agree with me that that is extremely very, very low. And infrastructure is a key driver of economic growth. It helps competitiveness, it helps productivity of people, it helps companies to perform more efficiently. And if we're not putting more into that space, we should not expect to see dramatic change in the living standard of an average Nigerian. So starting from there, let's now drill down to the Executive Order 12. Yes, it's a good decision, and one thing that it will definitely do is that it helps to accelerate the investment in infrastructure, particularly in the area of road construction, because what that does is that it doesn't take the liability that the companies will incur away in terms of what needs to be done, but it's a form of a tax credit which you can use to invest in roads. So that takes away from the bureaucracy of government approval, budget, fund allocation, and all what have you. So government companies can directly take cash credit, tax credit, and invest it in road infrastructure. So that will definitely improve things. And a number of companies have been identified for the pilot phase, the Lafarge of this world, the Dangote, the Unilever, and co. But my own concern more is that road construction and road infrastructure development is good. But if you take it that we are a nation of about 180, 190 million people, we need to begin to pay more attention to mass transport system. The road infrastructure that we have currently can only take so much and can only take so many people at a time. When you invest in road transport, I mean in mass transport like the railways, the rail tracks and stuff like that, you move more people, you move more goods from one point to the other. So I would say that it's a good opportunity to accelerate the development of infrastructure in the area of road, but please let us also focus more on on mass transport system.
So Mr. Akintunde, the next question will be that what is the capacity of local players in this regard? Because over the years, we have had records of collapsed bridges, collapsed buildings, and more.
Thank you. I think we need to really be brutally honest with ourselves at this point. And I'm an engineer, I believe you know that as well. And I'm passionate about developing local capacity for development. But we need to ask ourselves, how much effort and investment have we put into the development of this local capacity over time? What you don't have, you cannot give. I think that we have not been deliberate enough. We have not been focused enough to grow capacity in this area. When you talk about infrastructure development, there are two dimensions of it. You have the provision, and then you have the management of it, the maintenance, operation and maintenance. The provision is definitely capital intensive. We'll continue to rely on some foreign investment in that direction. And government is looking at different sources of funding of capital to fund this part. So, but if anybody brings capital into your country to invest in your infrastructure, definitely they would demand certain degree of management control to ensure that their investment will be repaid back. And if Nigerian engineers have to play a critical role in this area, I think we should start from being a key player in the area of the provisioning, the designing, the construction, and see the educational system that we have. We should focus more on the development of STEM, that is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We see that the curriculum of most of our higher institutions are not really being devoted to the development of capacity in this area. We have to start from that grassroots, because whatever we miss now is going to impact us big time in the future. And I think, secondly, government should also make conscious effort to integrate Nigerian engineers with these processes. It's good enough for somebody to bring money to this country, but hey, it's still our country. We must create a position for our people to play in it and allow the local players to also contribute their quota to the development, because that's the capacity that we can retain on the long term.
Okay, Mr. Akintunde, thank you so very much for your thoughts. Unfortunately, we don't really have much time to trash out these issues because there are other issues around these financing issues, and of course, a whole lot of things to actually discuss. We should engage you more on the program on this particular discussion. Thank you so much for your thoughts. Now, after the break, we will come back to talk about the 150 billion naira that the Debt Management Office offered yesterday, and of course, an insight into the current trading day at the equities market.